edition of the Female Breadwinner Teleconference. I host these conferences in accordance with my passion, which is to be a voice for the female breadwinner in America. I am a physician, a mother, an author with many years' experience as the female breadwinner in my marriage. And the purpose of these teleconferences, for those of you that are listening for the first time, is to create a sisterhood, a sense of community for female breadwinners. Because our circumstance can feel alienating, it can feel foreign from what we witnessed growing up. But I believe that if we lean on each other, if we learn from one another's experiences, we can maximize our circumstance as female breadwinners. So each month, I provide free advice in the form of guest experts that cover a variety of topics of interest to the female breadwinner, because we are a unique category of woman and a unique category of wife. So tonight's conference is called On the Couch, Psychotherapy for Successful Women. And I'm so pleased to be joined by a very dynamic guest this evening. He is a clinical psychologist. He's a professional speaker, relationship expert, and author. He's been on CNN, HLN, ABC Nightline, and he co-hosted his own show on TV One called Love Addiction. He is none other than Dr. Aldewan Tart. Thank you, Dr. Tart.
Thank you, Dawn, for having me. I'm excited to be here.
All right. Great. I'm excited, too, because, we're so happy to have a male expert. You are our second man who's come into the women's tent in about a year and a half. So you should feel very privileged.
I do. I feel honored. I don't know whether scared or excited. I'm going to go with excited.
Okay, wonderful. So we always like to stay within the 1 hour time frame, and tonight we may even be a little bit less than that because, ladies, Dr. Tart has a very exciting day coming up in 4 days. He is getting married, and he has lots to do, and I'm so pleased he was able to squeeze us in with all his marital preparation duties. His wife is probably wondering, his fiance is probably wondering where he is right now because he's got 15 things to do. But we're so pleased to have him, so we're not...
She's giving me the assignment to work. You know how y'all are, so I'm excited. If you listen
so your assignment is just go work, huh? Just go make some money.
Yeah, now if I was out at the club, that'd be a problem. But if I'm working and
okay.
work, yeah, she's fine.
Okay, good. All right, excellent. So we're not going to keep you too long tonight, but we're going to jump right into the questions. Some questions were emailed to me. Some are questions that were just on my spirit about female breadwinners. And these are in no particular order or level of importance, but we're just going to jump right in. So the first question is, many of the women that I spoke with, I interviewed many women for my book. I host focus groups. I always speak to breadwinners every event that I go to. And one common complaint is that these women are very accomplished. They're very ambitious. And they seem to always want their man's hustle to match their hustle. Meaning, if she works 2 jobs, she wants him to work 2 jobs or even more. So whatever her level of accomplishment is, whether it's education, workforce, she kind of wants her man to match her and exceed her. Is that a fair request, or are we asking too much? Are we looking for a mirror image of ourselves, which is not necessarily fair if that individual was not that way when we met them? So what's your opinion?
No, there's a lot of different ways to answer that question. It really depends upon what you're looking for. There are some couples in which opposites attract. So where you have one partner that's more laid back and you have one partner that's more ambitious. If it works for the couple, then cool. But I think what you're saying is that typically women don't want to feel like they have the sole responsibility of earning the income in a family. Most times couples are cool when they make different levels of income if the man's ambition level, like you said, matches. It's not really about the income at the end of the day all the time. It's about ambition level. So the advice is, one, when you first met someone, were they ambitious when you first met them? A lot of times, couples grow apart because in this case, maybe the woman's ambition level has grown. Her aspirations have grown over time, and where her husband has stayed the exact same when she met him. She's met him. That causes problems because he's saying, what's the problem? I was this way when you met me, and I don't see what the problem is. Meanwhile, she's growing and evolving and getting promotions and opening up businesses and wanting to do things. So I think that's okay. I think that's totally okay for women to expect a man to work hard and to have ambition.
So what if he says, hey, I was this way when you met me, I'm comfortable, this is all you're going to get?
Right. Now, that doesn't have to be a problem. It really depends upon how that feels to you. So if he's willing to support you in your endeavors, that can work. Now, the real question is, because someone wrote in that question, they want to know how to get their man more hustle. So let me answer that. We are creatures of habit. And so it's important that if you want to change a man's routine, put him around other men who have a routine that's a little bit higher than his. See, it's okay for him to be in a comfort zone and say, this is how my friends are, I've been at this company for 20 years, I like it. He's not going to want to move. But if you take him and put him around men who are doing things more progressively, you challenge the way he thinks. He, on his own, without you having to say a word, will begin to start thinking, why am I not making more money? Why do I not own this business? Why am I not in management? Why am I not taking risks? Why am I not pursuing a thing? If you put him around other accomplished men who are in movement, then that likely will move him as well. And that's why I think it's important to kind of subtly do it. Like, go to Black Enterprise conferences, go to Forbes conferences, go to conferences that you know will challenge the way he thinks, and just say, hey, we're going to try something new. And you don't have to say a word to him. If he's open to doing that, then I think that you have a chance to make it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a good question. So, a good answer. So just kind of surround him by more ambitious, we'll try to, by more ambitious men. Okay, great. I think we can hopefully maybe find a way within our own sphere or microcosm to kind of do that. Okay, so the next question is, how should women handle feelings of being at a crossroads when they want to support their spouse's dream of being self-employed, being an entrepreneur, starting their own business, but with that generally comes a lower income because you're getting it off the ground, you're not seeing much of a profit, but you are following your dream. And on the flip side, she also wants him to bring in more income so that she can kind of take that back seat and either be the stay-at-home mom if they have kids, be the housewife, be that archetype that she may have seen growing up and may have always dreamed she would be, but now she's in a situation where she's got to continue to make the money in order to, keep the household going while he follows his passion, which brings in a lower income.
Well, you know what?
That?
But Don, what I'm saying, that happens all the time. When we start talking about modern day economy, there are going to be times in which the man is up, and then there's times in which the woman is up. You fluctuate. So when couples get together, there are this natural part, especially if you're together for a lifetime or for a number of years, in which you are going to have to support a job change or a layoff or entrepreneurship, trying new businesses, and taking time to build that revenue and that income. I think that's totally okay. But I think in order for it to work, you really have to be focused and dedicated to your partner. It's not about what they make. It's really about being focused on supporting, in this case, him and his dreams. If he works at it, he's going to make more money in that business. That's going to happen. And you have to be willing, as a wife, to sacrifice the times in which he's not generating a lot of money so that you can enjoy the times in which he is making a lot of money. So it's just part of the process. And I think that if he's communicating with you and he's getting good advice and he is taking time to continue to date you and understands, and you all are able to work together as a team as to when you're going to transition and say, hey, this year I'm going to support you in your dreams and hold it down, and then next year I would like to kind of phase back a little bit to take care of some things that I want to take care of a wife and as a mother. It can work out perfectly, but it takes a lot of communication. And I think at the core of that, Dawn, is friendship. See, a lot of these questions that we're talking about is really about friendship. And that's what hurts a lot of businesses, even when you go into partnership with someone else that's not your husband or your wife. You know, when you're in business, you have to have a rock-solid relationship that's able to stand the test of time and conflicts, because conflict is a normal part of relationships and a normal part of business. So, to summarize that, it can work, but you're going to have to make sure that you spend time cultivating your friendship so that you can talk about those bumps in the road that go along with entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate that response, and what I think I hear you say is that you have to kind of put a bit of a plan together, meaning if he says, okay, I want to start my own business, you can say, great, fine, I'll hold it down. Maybe you can have 3, 5 years, what have you, at which point it then becomes my turn. My turn to maybe dial back on my career responsibilities, to spend more time with the children. So it's almost like we've got to plan this out so that we each can get what we need from this relationship, because when a woman is kept from fulfilling that maternal need, from being the best mom she can be because she's supporting the household, that's a very, very dangerous place for a woman to be, you know, as far as her feelings are concerned, because, you know, that maternal instinct is so strong. And if we feel like our mate is not doing as much as he can to allow me to be the mother I want to be, you know, to allow me to stay at home longer with my kids, or, you know, whether it's maternity leave or, you know, I don't want to work evenings, I don't want to travel so much, I want to be the best mom I can be. That's hard to rationalize through sometimes. So I think maybe if they have a bit of a plan to say, you get your turn, then I'm going to have my turn. But I feel like she's got to be heard, and I think he has to also be willing to give her that flexibility to say, you know what, I'm going to let you have more time with kids. I'm going to let you cut back on your career so that you can have more time with the kids. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, no, it does. It does. And that's what couples do. You're really talking about making life dreams come true. And that's what the new research is saying that men and women want from marriage. They want a mutual life coach. They want someone to help them accomplish their dreams and ambitions, and they want the support of their partner in doing that. But Don, something else, though. You know, this is really not about the husband or the wife supporting the other from a financial standpoint. A lot of us have been taught that you work hard, and the only way to make more money is to work harder. Well, there's a book out called 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss that talks about working smarter. And it's talking about, this is the mindset of what he calls the new rich. And the new rich, they focus on how to work smarter, not harder. And so part of this is, for mothers out there that do have multiple roles as a wife, as a mother, and also as a professional, find ways within your own profession to work smarter, not harder. You know, that might be writing a book, that might be doing public speaking, that might be coming out with products, that might be taking more of an initiative as far as being in the media to increase your brand. There are things that you can do that don't require you to work harder. You can just work smarter.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good advice right there. I appreciate that, because I tell you, I'm certainly trying to do that every day.
Well,
okay,
you know,
great.
I talked to, I'm going to say this quickly, and I know that's the next question. I talked to Ricky Smiley, and Ricky told me something a while back that really struck me. He said, you know what, I got tired of touring, and I realized I was going to make the same income every year. So what I decided to do was focus on things that if I did them every day and just increased the audience and the amount of people that watched it, I could get paid more money. So he decided to do radio, and even though it started in just Dallas, in just one market, he knew that it would grow. It had the potential to grow for him to do the same 3-hour radio show every morning, but it would grow in market so he would get paid more. So that's the same mindset. So ask yourself, how can I get paid more?
Same amount of hours, more exposure, right? Yeah.
Right. Got it.
I like that. And, you know, I'm going to plug myself at this exact moment because my plan, I'm going to be putting out YouTube videos. She Makes More TV in this coming year. So, you know, hopefully I will get more exposure. And it's not about me. It's really about, again, the female breadwinner and helping us as a society understand her better So I certainly look forward to getting more exposure to us because I want men to understand us and I want society to understand us. So, yeah, that's perfect. I'm in line with that. So,
Don, I'm gonna definitely plug you because we met in Cincinnati, and this was the first that I had actually heard of the female breadwinner as far as someone studying them. And I can tell you, the debates that it's caused has really, really, really made me open my eyes to the unique position of women, especially African American women, that out earn their men. Because there were very few men that were okay with that. So
I definitely feel like Chicken Little sometimes. I feel like the sky is falling, and I'm running around like the sky is falling, and nobody else is paying attention. But I definitely feel like it's something that is infiltrating our relationships very slowly, but yet it's causing a lot of pathology. And again, when I'm at these professional conferences and I meet women and I tell them what I do, these women will tear up on the spot in front of me to have someone that finally understands their circumstance. That's real. That's real.
Yeah, you're right.
So there's so many emotions under the surface that, again, we just are not discussing. But again, each day we're going to get a little bit better. So that's my passion.
And I see it in the office too. When a woman's really doing well and the man is stagnant, that causes problems in their relationship unless they're extremely, extremely well connected. So you're right. So I appreciate what you're doing.
Well, and
someone has to be the tribal leader. So I'm glad you're taking that. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so let's jump into the next question, and this one is a little bit more juicy, and that is, okay, so when we think about decades ago, and we think about the kind of the sexual responsibilities or duties in a marriage, we kind of think like about June. If you think about June Cleaver, right? Leave it to Beaver. June Cleaver, her role was probably to keep her man sexually satisfied, right? I don't think June Cleaver was so much worried about her own sexual satisfaction. We skip forward to the modern woman who is working hard, long hours, traveling, business trips. She's empowered. She's making money. She's making decisions. When she comes home, she's ready to have, an intimate relationship with her husband. If she's not getting sexually satisfied, it can be very frustrating because she's stressed. She's looking for that, stress relief. And if she's not getting it, how does she voice the fact that she's not satisfied with the sex in her marriage?
Wow, you just got right to it, didn't you, Don? You're right. It's a huge problem. It's a huge problem regardless of money. This is really about sexual compatibility. And as Americans, we rank pretty low compared to other countries as far as sexual satisfaction within marriages because we don't like to talk about whether or not we're satisfied. And men especially don't need to hear it. But here's what the research shows. There's this guy by the name of Dr. Barry McCarthy, and he is a leading researcher when it comes to sexless marriages. And he classifies a sexless marriage as having sex less than 12 times a year or being having a ratio of where you're more often than not satisfied while having sex with your partner. So here's the way to bring it up. Every 90 days, the research says that you should sit down with your partner and you should do two things. One, you should talk about the things that you like sexually, and you should also talk about the things that you like to explore. Now, I want people listening to this to be mindful of the language that I'm using. I didn't say what could be better, things that you like to explore, because it makes it seem like these are some things that are new, and if we explore them, I'm not saying that something is bad or there's a problem. They're just things that I want to explore. Also, as a third thing, I said two, he also says that couples should talk about their erotic fantasies every 90 days. And here's why. Our sexual desires change. We get stale. We get bored. And this is just man and woman. And if you're not talking about erotic fantasies, you're just not talking about them. But both partners are having them. And this is what makes affairs so electric. People are getting into them more than ever. And it's not because they want to cheat on their spouse. is because they're looking for that spark. They're looking for that energy. They're looking for that guesswork. They're looking for something new, some spontaneity, some intrigue. And if we can do that inside of our relationships, then we can cut down on the amount of affairs.
Okay. Well, that sounds like very good advice. And the language, like you said, is so important because, again, once you say something that is damaging to that person with regard, I guess for me personally, I feel that each of us has a right to have a sexual identity. And if that spouse that you trust, that you love, expresses some degree of judgment about your own sexual desires or identity or the things that you may fantasize about, sometimes it can be a little hard to recover from that because, it's such a deep part of us that we are, like you said, afraid to reveal and divulge, that once we do divulge it, if there's any sort of judgment about it, meaning they look down, or I'm not going to do that, or I can't believe you asked that, it's almost like we can shut down. Like whatever door that just opened to communicate, to share, you have now shut that door because you've judged me. And I just want to, just for us listening, to just be sure we avoid that.
Dawn, you're so right. You can't do that. If you're listening right now, you cannot shut your partner's erotic fantasies down. You cannot. Now, this is where the new school and the old school kind of collide. Old school, you get together, you have sex in the same position, and you're happy for life. However, we now know that that is not real. We now know that, from the research, there were people that were bored then. Now when you look at all the sexual stimulation, and you're right, Dawn, the evolution of women being able to have their own sexual identity, being able to have sexual fantasies, being able to be open and say, hey, these are my needs, these are things that I want to do. As men, we must satisfy you. And not only must we satisfy your erotic desires, we also must be able to take you to the big O. And I'm saying that based on the research, because when women are able to go to the big O, they're able to release chemicals. In men it's vasopressin, in women it's oxytocin. And so when you're able to release those chemicals, then you feel a sense of connection to your husband. And if you're not able to bring your wife to the big O, then you're missing a big connection point. And if you think about being married to someone for life and never having an orgasm, that's just not sexual satisfaction. And it's going to be very difficult for that relationship to stand the test of time. So what men have to do, we have to be comfortable in asking, what can I do better? When I touch you, do you want multiple stimulation? Do you like me to touch you here and here at the same time? Hey, when I'm doing this, what part of it do you like? And we have to communicate so that I can take care of you. It's no longer about just the man. It is now about both partners being pleased so that you can have a sexually satisfying relationship.
All right. Awesome. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Okay, the next question is, okay, this is a common scenario that recurred many, many times over with the women I interviewed for my book, and that is because the modern woman, the female breadwinner, we feel so empowered, right? We feel like we can do anything. But because of that, okay, let's again, I go back to June Cleaver. Okay, so what did June Cleaver bring to the household and Leave It to Beaver? She cooked the meals. She took care of the kids. She was, she made sure that she was physically attractive and pleasing for her husband. She kept the house neat and tidy, but she didn't have a whole lot of power, let's say, as far as overt power. Covert, that's something totally different. So we combine all those different maternal, wifely attributes, and then we look at the modern woman who has all that June Cleaver had, and now she's got the power of being educated, of having high income, of calling the shots at work. So when you look at that woman who now has all of these attributes, she feels like she can pretty much take care of it all, right, if she chose to. So at many times what we do is, in an effort to coddle our men in an effort to make them feel like the king of the castle, to apologize for earning more than they do. We sometimes just take care of everything. We are the quintessential overachiever. You know, he makes a mistake, he forgets to do whatever, we're right there to clean it up, to pick it up. He doesn't pay this or he doesn't pay that, we're right there to smooth it over. So every time he may drop the ball, we're right there to pick it up. And it over time, he starts to learn, or he starts to be conditioned to know that we're always there to pick up the pieces. So how do we balance that feeling of I'm empowered and I want to care for my man the best way I can by taking the stress and strain off of him? But how do we balance that with creating that enabler behavior where now we are doing him a disservice by always picking up the pieces, never letting him fall on his backside and learn, you know, from his mistakes, because we're always cleaning it up. How do we kind of find the middle of the road?
Okay. So I think the best way to do it is think about how you would raise your son. And this is not an insult. Of course, me as a man, you know, I'm a representative man. But I want to be real about how to do this. So when you think about raising your son, if you do everything for your son, what happens? You make him weak. You make him dependent upon you. You make him a quote-unquote mama's boy. You have to be able to allow him to struggle and to be able to problem solve and to figure it out. So what we call that in psychology, we call that scaffolding, like a scaffold, like in New York. You would simply give your son enough information for him to figure it out on his own, but you wouldn't solve it for him. So how does this apply to husbands? All right? So if you have a husband who is slacking, and he's slacking by his own admission, he would say, yes, I should be doing more. I'm not moving forward on my goals. Instead of criticizing, which you know shuts him down and makes him defensive, what you do is you challenge him. You say, all right, what is it that you think you could do? How do you think that you could double your income? How do you think that you could move towards actually achieving some of your goals when it comes to making a positive return on the business for this quarter? And if he doesn't get it, and this is the cool thing about having a talented breadwinner in the house. Men that allow the woman in the house to influence him is going to be a lot smarter. Two are better than one. But you don't want to do it for him because that's going to disempower him. Just simply give him enough information. So let me give you an example. He's like, so I don't know how to make any more money than what I'm making. And you'd say, okay, well, have you studied the business models of your competitors? Have you reached out to maybe get a mentor that's been doing this for a while? Have you, read up any books as far as, the industry and how it's changing? Have you talked to a banker? You simply ask questions and then hold him accountable, Don, to actually deciding what he's going to do. Allow him to be the captain of the ship, but give him leading questions and allow him to pick the one and then report back to you. A lot of men actually like that approach. A lot of men know they're not slacking. Know that they're slacking, and they like to be held accountable while their wives, as long as it's a soft leading approach and it seems like he's in charge and he's the decision maker, even though the whole time you're leading him to the solution.
Okay, because for us, it's a slippery slope because we get accused of nagging.
Oh, hold on, Don. I'm glad you said that word because a new study came out that showed that when women nag, it's really not nagging. It's really a sign that the relationship is starting to fall apart in some area. And so when men ignore nagging, they usually respond after the woman makes a huge move. Maybe she's filed for divorce. Maybe she's separated. Maybe she has split the finances and says, all right, you do yours, I do mine. All right, because it's not fair that we share joint income if you're not working as hard as I am, or you're not working up to your potential, and it's causing strain on me, or it's causing me to spend less time with the children because I'm having to hold down our lifestyle. And we agreed that we would support one another. Men get that too late. And by that time, the woman's already fed up. And as you know, Don, when a woman's fed up, it's like running out of time. But men don't get that. Men ignore the nagging. So I think it is best for women to make that move sooner. To say, hey, look, I've tried to talk to you about this, but obviously you're not getting it. So I do need to go ahead and make a move to show you
right.
that
Like
I really do need to make a change. Right.
Yeah.
Then respond to action.
Okay. I love that point. That's beautiful. Nagging is, like you said, it's more words. Whereas when you do take that action, whatever it may be, maybe they will wake up and smell the coffee, and just even to recognize the importance of what you're saying. It's very easy to ignore someone until you see that they're serious. Hear me, because what I'm saying is very serious to this relationship, and it's affecting my happiness and my desire to be here. So, okay, I think that's very good. That's very good.
One more point on that. The research is clear on this, and I want women to get this, and I want men that listen to this as well. The research shows if there's any one thing that a man can do to make his wife happy, it's make her life dreams come true and accept influence from her. So when we think about President Obama, they're on record with Michelle calling him to task and saying, hey, babe, what are you doing? You're going here volunteering this, you're doing that, but you're not really moving on your goals. I need to know what you're going to do, because we're getting to the point where I'm tired of holding things down. I need you to stop holding yourself back and to go forward on your goal. And that's what he said influenced him to go for the presidency. Research shows that married men are happier, healthier, and wealthier. Why? Because they have a talented woman by his side holding him accountable to being his best. Men that ignore that don't do well in relationships.
Mm-hmm. All right. That's beautiful. Okay, so the next question is, now this is, again, we're talking about very modern problems. These are complex problems that affect the modern woman that just did not exist decades ago. And that is, okay, so the female breadwinner, the woman who can take care of herself, she can pay her own bills, all of that. She tends to choose a mate based on love. Okay, she's not necessarily looking for a come up. She's not marrying you for your money. She's marrying you for love. She's marrying you because you guys are compatible. You make her laugh. You make her happy. You take some of the stress off of her world. But let's say she is more educated than you. Let's say she has a doctorate and you didn't finish college, or you didn't go to college, but maybe you started your own business, or whatever it may be. Let's just say that your education, your life experiences are not in sync. She has accomplished a bit more than you as far as education and life experience, but she has fallen in love with you. But how does she get past the feeling of, how can I follow you as my leader, as my head of household, if I know more than you?
Wow, that is a loaded question, Doc. That's loaded.
Hard, right?
It's loaded. So let me go back to the very beginning. It's really important for couples before they marry to really look for compatibility. When you start talking about someone with a doctorate degree and someone that didn't finish college, that is a huge difference as far as being compatible. Now, I'm not saying it can't work, because there are couples that have those dynamics and they make it work for 40 or 50 years. However, they have the conversation about how to make that work. Marriage is more than just love. Love is the centerpiece of it, but it's also about communication. It's about compatibility. It's about validating one another's dreams and passions and supporting one another. So when couples get together, these are the type of things that you have to discuss in premarital therapy to make sure that you're on the same page, and if not, where you can coexist. And the second thing is that this really boils down to communication and about leadership and submission as to what that means. A lot of women who have power at work do struggle with wearing two hats. It is hard to make the transition for a lot of women of being the CEO at work or being in a position of power at work, and then to come home and to be submissive at home, especially when the man makes less money. And that is where men have the biggest problem, because they don't necessarily see income as a reason why their wives should not submit to them. And I mean submit from a godly standpoint. I'm not talking about from a power dominant standpoint. So I think it's something that couples have to talk about. And I'll be honest with you, Dawn, the reality is most women in power need a man who is in power. to feel the need to submit to him. So they like a man who is in charge. And it doesn't necessarily have to be that he's out earning her, but he has to be fully confident in what he's doing and excelling in his career. When I talk to women who make more than their husbands, and it works for them, he's doing well for himself. She may make 150, but he's making 90, but he's the best at what he does. And so he has confidence. And so they're attracted to that, and so they feel like it's a lot easier to submit to a man who's really walking in his purpose and doing well for himself.
I appreciate that answer, definitely. I just worry because, that's such a hard concept for some men to grasp, to say, I am the best me that I can be. I just feel like there's so many that still struggle with, why am I not where she is? Constantly comparing themselves
True.
To what the woman is doing, and always feeling like, as the man, he is entitled, and why didn't he, why doesn't he have what she has, or why isn't he making what she's making? It's almost like it's always that competitive energy. And when
you're right.
When the statistics show that women are getting not only undergraduate degrees but graduate degrees at greater rates than men, it's definitely something we are going to have to retrain our thinking. Somehow men are going to have to evolve very quickly to find that place of happiness and fulfillment.
Dawn, that's going to be hard. That is going to be hard. 'Cause I'm sitting here thinking, am I cool with that? I'm cool with it for a little bit. I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it for a little bit. If you're up and you get a promotion, I'm certainly going to celebrate that because that's more money for us. But you're right. I'm also going to think about, all right, how can I make more as well? And that's not a negative comparison. That's because our role as men is to be providers and protectors. And we have a fantasy, and I think it might be accurate, Dawn, that you actually respect men that make a lot more than you, because you want to feel like if I don't want to work tomorrow, I want to know that my husband can hold it down. Men love to hear their wives say, hey, my husband makes sure that me and the kids don't want for anything. And so men want that. So even if they're at a high income level and the woman makes more, I do think that the natural tendency for most men is to try to figure out how to make more. So here's the solution. I think this is an area in which men, if they listen to their wives, or they take that as a positive challenge, can then find ways to make more. So if my wife, goes from 100,000 to 200,000, and I'm at 100,000, I'm going to sit down with her and say, hey, what are your thoughts about how I can make more? I'm going to call a couple of my partners and say, hey, you know what? My wife just made double the income. I want to make triple the income. How can I do that? The brain will never answer a question that you don't give it. And no matter where we look, Dawn, there are people at a variety of income brackets. We make as much money as we want to make. And so if we're willing to step outside of our comfort zones and we're willing to consult with other people, I think that can be a positive challenge for men. That would actually make me want to if you make $1 million, that's going to make me try to figure out how to make $2 million. But not in a competitive standpoint, but in a standpoint as far as saying, hey, baby,
self-growth, right?
I'm with it.
Okay, hey, it's a challenge we're going to have to deal with as a community, as a society. It is coming.
Men are already adjusting to
every day.
No, we've already been doing this, haven't we? When you look at Grandma and Grandpa, how many stories have you heard when Grandma says, when I met Grandpa, he was doing this? And then you look at where he's come, now he's the breadwinner. And that's what I want breadwinners to realize. I'm going to be honest with you, Don. When I talk to very, very powerful women, they want their man to make more money. They want him to out-earn her. She loves what she does, but she can take it or leave it a lot of times. That's not all women, but that's a lot of women.
Yeah, so I agree with that.
So there are men that if they're open to being positively challenged by their wives, and the wives still are able to have the relationship at home, so the fact that she's double her income doesn't change how they operate. He still has the same decision-making power that he had when he was out earning her, but she's able to also support him in his drive to make more, and to invest and to be the kind of man that he wants to be from a financial standpoint, it can definitely work. And it is working. We see that happening. We see that happening with President Obama. Look at the life that he's created for Michelle. But she was on record as being the breadwinner early on in the relationship. So, hey, hang in there. If you have a man that's willing to listen to you and accept your influence and allow you to be his better half, then you can reap the benefits.
All right. That's beautiful. I don't know why I just love the term influence. Because it's very gentle. It's a very gentle way to say you hear what I'm saying, and you are you're heeding some of my advice. And like you said, that is important for women, especially those of us that are educated, that are accomplished. We want to be heard, and we want to feel like our mate is taking what we're saying into consideration and putting it into action. I mean, that's a very beautiful synergy between a husband and a wife.
I just don't know why you wouldn't listen to a wife that's business savvy. Now, she has to be able to talk. Now, you have to be, we have egos. You can't be condescending, and we can't be your trainee, and we can't be the assistant manager, But if you show us the system and say, "Hey, I'm gonna make you the manager," because I think that's the key role, because I know women are dealing with this. So think about it. Use your money to your benefit. So if you're making $500,000, let's make it more realistic. If you're making $250,000 a year and your man is making $50,000, but you know how to make money, why wouldn't you show your man how you're doing it and allow him to run the show? So, all right, babe. You know what? How do you want to do this? This is how I've done it. I need you. I need your help. Speak our language. I need your help to take us from $250,000 to $500,000. Here's the system. I know you'll be able to take it to the next level. Run with it. Men will run with that as long as you let him do it on his own and teach him the system. That man will work all day and night to try and make $500,000. He wants to be able to say, "Yeah, you made $250, but I took us from $250 to $7," and that's what women want anyway. Yeah, baby, take it to $1 million. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to do one more question because it's almost 9, and I know you have a million things on your plate, as do I. So here's the last one, and this is a big one. What would you say to breadwinners, and this is many, who adopt the approach of saying, he can't handle the truth regarding her salary? There are many, many, many female breadwinners who just simply have been conditioned based on past experience, based on their mate's behavior, that he cannot handle knowing how much she makes. So she either says nothing, which is kind of lying by omission, or she simply lies about it. What advice do you give to women who have adopted that approach to say, I'm just going to withhold information in an effort to avoid the fallout that happens later with his behavior?
That is probably the worst thing that you can possibly do. Now, it works in the short term. It does prevent insecurity. It prevents problems. It prevents him feeling some type of way. He sees his salary. Now he doesn't want to make love because he's like, man, he's depressed. He's upset. He's frustrated. However, it's not, in the research, conflict avoiders have the worst relationship because you have robbed yourself of the ability to solve the problem. And you can't solve a problem that you never talk about. So here's the practical advice. I do think at first, especially if you're dating for the first time, don't put that on the table. Allow the friendship to develop. I say the same thing when it comes to sex. Allow the friendship to be the center of the relationship so that you can then handle information that's stressful. And a man realizing that a woman is making significantly more than him is going to question, well, what am I bringing to the table? Why is she with me? Would she leave me for a man that's able to be in her income bracket? However, if the friendship is solid, he's able to say, wow, you're really doing well for yourself. Either I'm comfortable with where I am, or, hey, babe, let's talk about how I can make more moving forward. You might be the breadwinner the first 5 years, and then I'm able to launch my business. And yeah, it takes a loss for a couple of years, but then I'm able to move that business into one that's profitable and allowing us to either match or for me to be the primary breadwinner. So I think you should talk about it because it allows you all to have the conversation about what he needs. He's able to talk. And I think a lot of men are actually confident enough and communicate well enough to be able to say, yeah, that is doing something to my ego. I think I am going to go back to school. You know what? I think that I am going to open up my own business. I think that I am going to go to that Chamber of Commerce meeting so that I can be around men who are making the type of money that I want so that I can, find some mentors or find some accountability partners. Because I do want you to be happy, and I do want you to find me sexy, and I do want you to see me as your security. And if that means I have to make more money and we can talk about it, so be it. And to be honest with you, Dawn, most men want to make more money anyway. So you're not selling them something. You're not selling us something that we don't want. Men will wake up in the middle of the night to learn how to make more money. So talk about it.
Okay. All right, ladies. You heard it from the psychologist, relationship expert. Do not hide your salary. It's okay early on when you're dating, but once you have developed a friendship, you need to be able to divulge that because, as Dr. Tart mentioned, you avoid the conflict. It may put a Band-Aid on it on the short term, but over the long term, it will be very damaging to your marriage. And that was really shown to be true. And the women who I spoke with that did adopt that approach, it is very damaging because there's a lack of trust. When you're hiding information from someone that you love, again, it just doesn't feel very good to that individual. So, so this has been a wonderful, very insightful call. I thank you again for taking time out, even though you're in the final days before your wedding, and I wish you all the blessings on your wedding day and your honeymoon. But let's be sure we get the information out there to the ladies of how they can maybe contact you. Dr. Tart is a practicing psychologist, so if you need some counseling, if you and your mate need counseling, now he is based in Atlanta, but he said he does potentially do Skype sessions for couples and for therapy. So, Dr. Tart, make sure you tell us how to get in touch with you if we're interested.
Absolutely. Thank you, Doc, for having me. I appreciate it. Hey, listen, if you want to be able to find the language to be able to communicate this to your mate, your husband, I'd be glad to help you. It's really in the language. You can reach me at drtart.com. That's drtart.com. You can also reach me on my email, drtart@drtart.com. That's 2 T's at the end. Or you can reach me in my office at 404-377-4757. Again, that's 404-377-4757. Be glad to come out and speak at conferences. Be glad to work with you and your husband in a private setting. I do know how to deal with men's egos. Trust me, I'm doing this already. We want to learn how to make more money, and oftentimes, coming in and having that conversation and being sincere about it really propels him to a level that he wants to be anyway. So I'd be glad to help you. And I'm also on Twitter at Dr. Tart. That's DrTartt.
Awesome. Okay, Dr. Tart, we're going to look for you on any upcoming projects that you may have. I know you have something exciting potentially in the works, so we're definitely going to look for you. And we thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed your hour in the women's tent. And for those of you listening, again, please visit my website, shemakesmore.com. If you have not completed my quick survey, please do so, because the more I can get inside of your mind as a female breadwinner, the better I can be at voicing who you are to society, which is my passion. So we'll do this again next month. We have another fascinating guest expert, another intriguing topic on October 30th at 8 p.m. So please join us. And again, thanks for spending time with us at She Makes More Female Breadwinner Teleconference. Dr. Tart, you have a wonderful evening.
And thank you very much. And I want the next one to be in person.
Okay, will do. I will travel.
All right.
All right, have a good night. Okay, bye-bye.